Hey guys, welcome back to Chris and Retro. Today's video is going to be on instigation. Some of the videos I've spoken over the last few days have had kind of that theme, um, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Just because I think that there's a way to deal with instigation. I think a lot of times it feels so unjust when it's happening to us, but we're seeing this thing highlighted in all kinds of environments. We're seeing it in my situation. I talked about the employee situation. We're seeing it in politics for sure. I'm going to talk about that. Um, Divorce. In prosecution situations, the prosecuting attorneys do it a lot, and it's a manipulating tool. The defense attorneys manipulate information a lot, and just to instigate a reaction. So it's kind of like the jab in a fight. You want to get somebody to move a certain way so you can set up a better strike. So that's I think that instigation has it's applied in a lot of ways intentionally. That's a different thing about instigation versus other types of manipulation. I would say it's a version of manipulation, but I think sometimes people get in a habit of manipulating people, and sometimes they just do it based on a habit, not really knowingly. Instigation definitely is something that people intentionally do, and they're doing it for a response so that you can figure out what to do next. And a lot of times it's trying to get people beyond a place where they maybe have a strong defense. And so you want to make people uncomfortable and get them to move and get them to do things they wouldn't otherwise do, so you can expose them for either alleged weakness or set yourself up for more success when you're opposed to somebody. I wrote down just a loose definition for me. You know, um, Instigation is using interpretation of elements of real events, circumstances, or even facts, and branding them to fit a story that is being supported. For example, it's kind of like how Eminem, everybody knows Eminem. If you don't know it, Eminem is a phenomenal lyricist, whether you like his music or not. He's creative as heck, and he can take the English language and bend it and twist it and change the syllables and add syllables to words that only have one syllable. And he's probably the only one that does it masterfully in a way you just don't you don't question. It's like, yeah, that works. So he bend things and make it work. It still is the word, but he shifted it so you're seeing it differently. And that's a lot of what instigation does, and it's a form of manipulation, but it's really the offensive version of manipulation. That manipulation is trying to get you to do something for me. But in instigation, I'm trying to force you to do it by shoving you a certain way with something that might get you to move, and usually it's offensive. Um, it's usually not something that would qualify as a referenceable item. So if you were in college and you were going to reference some piece of information, you better have the exact reference correct if you're going to corroborate or support whatever story it is you're trying to tell. Whereas in instigation, it doesn't necessarily have to be 100% factual. It's creating a story around some circumstance that may appear to be factual so that you're getting the response that you're looking for. Now, I got a friend of mine. Well, Jesse, I'm going to call you a friend of mine here. I think we're acquaintances at this point, but we're friendly for sure. We just not around each other enough to say that we're friends. But I get along with him great, and I think he's been super supportive of me, and I have a ton of respect for him. So, and I'm sure that we would, if we spent more time around each other, we probably would be friends. We just don't see each other. We live in two different states, and our worlds are massively different. But Jesse of the show Jesse on Fire, I don't know if you know this, but he did a great video today that illustrates my point on instigation. I'm going to play that for you. And just to give you an idea where Jesse is, I'm going to put myself on the spot here. I'm actually going to send him a text right now telling him I support the video. I thought it was great. And we'll just see if he responds during this to give an indication of the level of connection we have, so I'm not just blowing smoke. And if he doesn't, then I'm just going to sit here, hold the microphone, and go, well, he normally would. So anyway, that's where we are with that. But I'm going to play this for you right now because I felt like thinking of the context of instigation. This illustrates the point. And so for my audience, why does this matter and why am I having this subject? I'll get to that because these are things that can really derail us, especially in our recovery. So I'll share this over with you and then we'll go from there.
Over delivering in this video. You guys just don't know yet because you haven't seen that section. But here's the deal. Also, really quick, I want to thank the sponsor of this video, Yo Kratom. If you're a daily Kratom user and you buy in bulk, go to Yo Kratom, $60 kilograms, best source on the internet. All right, so let's jump into what I promised you, which is the stupidest, most illogical, and devious, complete and total lie smear of Trump that I've ever seen. Now, what do they always say about this guy?
All right, I know the T word was said, Trump. Whatever your political affiliation is, please just wash that out of this conversation right now. What I'm talking about is instigation and as an arm of manipulation. And I'm using a political context to show how it can be used. So regardless of the characters at play here, even though I do have a bias, I'm asking you just to hear the principle because I know that this conversation can make people just dismiss whatever is being said afterwards.
Okay, what's their number one go-to for why people should not like or vote for Trump. It's because he's a racist, right? He's a huge racist that seems to have a lot of, like friendly black supporters that he's very, very kind to, invites places. And, like it doesn't really make sense, but they will just continue to harp on that. And it's like, don't believe your eyes. Trust us. He's racist. Listen to this absolute freaking nonsense. Okay. So the Kamala Harris campaign accused Trump of deliberately choosing sundown towns with racist histories for his rallies. Okay. And I want to be very clear what sundown town is when we get into this. Okay. Critics point to a troubling pattern of campaign stops in Midwestern towns that Kamala Harris's campaign has called a racist bullhorn. Okay. I really, really want you to think about what could be a more disgusting and damaging smear than to call a candidate that has a very good chance of winning the election a racist.
I'll leave it at that. So as you can see, the instigation is to get a response out of Trump that's going to show him unhinged. I would suspect that's it. And also to manipulate voters to feel a certain way. That's the only thing I can figure. I'm no political strategist. I don't know. But I would say that the assertion that somebody would only go to towns that favor racism to run for office is absurd. And if you think otherwise, you're absurd. It's also as absurd as a politician using this still as the main conversation when there's many other things we have to deal with. Racism is an issue. I don't know why it has to be brought up in situations that are such a stretch when there's things that are so much closer than that actually are institutional racism. There are things that we can be addressing far greater than if Trump has gone to towns that supposedly are these sunset towns. I don't know if they are or not. I don't know. I know in the Northeast we had all kinds of stuff that happened up here too. He's also gone to several other large cities to candidate. So I'm not suggesting that, not supporting him or refuting Kamala. I'm just saying is that this is an area where instigation was used, where a circumstance is, yes, is he campaigning in those towns? Of course. So we take this truth and make it seem as though that's the only places that he's campaigning. That's the manipulation of it. In fact, he's actually campaigning in other areas. So Jesse's feedback, if you want to watch this, it's actually a pretty good video if you're so inclined. He usually has some very thoughtful videos, but it's called "New Video of Trump Shooting Will Shock Your System: Kamala's Insane Allegations Levied at at Trump." So good video if you're interested in it. But I wanted to share that with you from a politics perspective, how this instigation can work. Because yes, it's manipulating the voters. That's one side of it, where we're trying to get the voters to feel a certain way and say Trump's racist. But the flip side of it is instigation to try to get Trump to lose his base by getting him to react to this sort of thing. So that's one area. So then I also talked to you guys earlier in the week about the instigation that's been going on in my life with this former employee. Going on LinkedIn and saying that I can't go to military bases because I'm a felon is false. But I am a felon. So, it was just slander and 100% slander. And then there's, allegations that I'm racist have also been come up. Considering he's a white mid-40s person with mental health problems, I find that odd, but okay. Considering I'm a white mid-40s, now I'm almost mid-50s, man with mental health problems, so kind of on the same page. So I'm not really sure where racism is coming in that, but that's how that mind is thinking. And then other allegations about unfair treatment and abuse and all these other things. And so if one doesn't work, we put another iron in the fire, and the entire collective of it all, including the nonstop text messages that are unwelcome and blocked and everything else, is all to elicit a reaction. So I've chosen, and the reactions I'm putting on this channel about this incident is because I'm learning a lot from it. And so there are actually areas that I've struggled with in the past, because in the past, this type of thing, I would have gone crazy about it. It would have caused me some problems. But in my new stage and the new tools I have, I'm finding different ways to deal with it. I'm finding that perhaps maybe you're running into this as well in your early recovery, as well as in your long-term recovery, this instigation. And so in that case, in my professional life, there was an instigator. Divorce. That's a big one. Man, how many of you have been through divorce? I've been through one. We get along fine now, but we did not get along then. We spent a lot of years trading bards and instigating each other and causing problems. And I remember one time my ex showed up at the house late for picking up the kids with hickeys all around her neck and a video camera on the dash to tape my reaction. I had no idea there was a video camera there, and she got a reaction. But in my smart mouth south, and my mouth, as it has done for me many times over, got me in trouble there too. But it was instigation. It was all to start trouble, and it did. It got me in some trouble. But that's how it goes. So these instigation that worked, and in divorce, you're constantly instigating each other because our view is that we're the greatest parent, the greatest person ever, and that the other person was the perpetrator of all that's wrong. Oftentimes, that's how it goes. Now, for you out there that actually did compromise and calm down and were there for your kids and didn't make it a big scene, man, kudos to you. Good for you for being the adult in those situations. I applaud you because you're few and far between. I was not one of you. I have a lot of work to do in that area. Because somebody wants to pick a fight with me, I'm in, and verbally or otherwise. So that's been problematic for me. I'm not bragging about it. It's true. And, I mean, you instigate me 9 out of 10 times, you're going to get a reaction. So this is why instigation is a big conversation for me right now, is because in my professional environment, I'm actually learning tools and overcoming that in a way that works for me. Personally, I'm still working on it because I have more principles relative they're more closer to home at that point. It's not just job. So I talked about legal matters. So if you're prosecuting DA is coming after you about something, oof, man, they're coming after you with everything, and they're making suggestions and innuendo, and that's all instigation because they want to get you to say something stupid, so you screw up, and you admit or you paint yourself in a way that causes doubt in the jury's mind that you're innocent, because in the end, you got to be proven guilty. And sometimes you prove yourself guilty just by running your mouth when you're not supposed to, just because you react to a DA. And I think a lot of these prosecuting attorneys definitely know how to get people to react. Defense attorneys do the same thing. They're trying to soften the situation and give perspective about it that's different than what may actually be the cold, hard facts, but they're creating a story that seems less egregious so they can either get the person off or make the charges seem less. And in some cases, that's instigating a reaction as well, too, because what you're trying to do is get the prosecuting side to seem more bullying and more attacking and more vindictive. And so instigation is used in that as a matter of sparring over a legal matter. The point is that in all areas of our life, instigation seems to be there, and it is a weaponized tool of manipulation. Again, I'm not a professional, so these are just merely my observations of how my mind thinks about things, and I've seen this subject come up over and over again. And with Jesse's video this morning, it made sense for me to talk about that. I felt it was just kind of reaffirming. I had literally just put notes in my phone that I wanted to do a show on instigation, and then I saw this video pop up, and I'm like, well, I guess that's a sign I should do that. So what do we do about it? Well, for those of us in recovery, instigation can be real damaging because we will react. We're volatile. We got a lot going on. Many of us have dumpster fires all over the place that we've lit. We've got family issues. We got relationship issues. We got kid issues. We got family court, legal, blah, blah, blah. We got our addiction. We're trying to break our addiction. We're out of money. We got no home. We've got so much on our plate, and our enemies can instigate trouble with us all the time. And so what they do is they needle, needle, needle. Especially as men, we respond, get ourselves in more trouble, and there we go. I think of this one incident when I was incarcerated at one point. I knew this young man, very young man. He had done. I'm not sure what he did do, but he was out on. He had papers. It was just a probation thing. It wasn't parole, and he had done something where he got out good time. He had like 45 days left of good time that he had been given a little bit of time to get out. And while he was out, I think within a couple of days of getting off papers entirely, he got himself in trouble with a traffic stop. He has a complete rejection of authority issues, got put back in jail. So he's supposed to be in jail just for a few weeks, okay? While he's in jail for a few weeks, he catches a charge for 1 year for spitting on one of the COs. Not only does he do that, he gets another charge and ends up by turning this thing into like 3 years of prison on a 45-day good times sentence. He was just getting back to finish his good time out, and I probably would have got nothing else except additional probation. And because he was an instigator and like to poke the COs, he caused himself problems by actually being the instigator. So it's not always about what people are instigating with us. A lot of times we can get ourselves in trouble by being an instigator. And so for him, he got himself in trouble by being the instigator and turned into what was going to be home within weeks is now in years in New York State prison, which I still can't figure that out because the kid is a nice kid. I mean, I got along with him great. We go to the church thing together. We go to the AA group together. We go to, I forget what there's some other group we go to. We were in the yard all the time together. I mean, he was just, I thought, a good kid, but he had some mental health issues and really didn't like authority really at all. So he'd wrap his head up with wet towels, and have it, so all you could just see his eyes, and then he'd just start talking smack to the COs and throwing stuff at him and everything else, and just trying to keep the OC spray out of his eyes so he could fight a little longer. He almost caught me a visit one time because he got in a fight with a CO. I had to like quick jump over his paperwork that land on the ground to quit and bolt through the gate because they were locking the gate. And I didn't want to get locked up my visit. So by being on the other side, they were going to let me in my visit. If I was on this side where the fight was, then I probably would have been sent back to my cell and not got a visit for a week. So I was not going to have that. So I got all ninja and got out of there. But yeah, he would always instigate stuff. So we have stuff instigated towards us, but we also instigate towards other people, and that's not always the best. So what do? Well, the first go-to is don't react. Now, I'm kind of violating that because I've made some reactions to this employee issue, but I'm not really trying to antagonize him. What I'm just saying is, like, this is something that's been annoying me. It's been bothering me. You might have a similar situation in your life, so this is some of the things I'm doing. The first thing I chose was not to react. Hopefully that was professionally, but also personally. It's in my best interest to let that play out its course. Problem is he had a lot of stamina with this antagonistic behavior, and the instigation just keeps going on and on and on. Now we're almost 11 months into it, and it's still going. So at that point in time, I felt like I needed to stand for myself, especially when it starts going into my professional environment, start exposing things that I only should be allowed to expose or through background checks. But if I want to do a public declaration of it, that should come from me. Now I do that, and it's not like it's some big surprise. However, that's not my inventory, is not the ownership of another person to share. And in so much they do, that's a problem. So that's why I've chosen to react over the last few days, and I did in my first 10 months. If you must if you must address the situation, and that's kind of where I've been trying to model here. If you must address the situation, the worst thing you can do is spin up for war, because that's my tendency. My tendency would be like, all right, you want to start this crap, keyboard warrior? How about we do something about that? Which is the worst thing I could possibly do, because now it takes every single thing I have, and now I'm the instigator, and I can burn every single thing I've worked so hard down to the ground. And that's not something I'm interested in doing because of one person's bad opinion of me or himself that gets him back. So how do I handle that? Well, a suggestion would be to treat them like somebody with borderline disorder. I had somebody in my life that had borderline disorder, and I had to manage and work with this person for quite some time, many, many years, about certain things. And I was just couldn't, there was no choice. I had to be managing this person because of a relationship with the kids. I was advised by multiple counselors that the best way to deal with somebody in that situation is keep everything in the center. Don't allow it to go down the emotional trails. Keep everything in the center, based on fact, based on whatever the subject is at hand. Keep it right in the center. Man, that advice saved me more headaches over the years, because now I wasn't focused on, well, you said that, now I'm going to go there. I'm going to meet you there and fight you there. You know, you said this about me, and I'm going to come up with that and say, oh yeah, well, you're a dummy. You know, whatever sparring session I want to get into, and these little trails that happen. But what I found was, but I got centered on the conversation and what it was we were trying to accomplish. When they start going off and, yeah, well, you suck and you did all these great bad things and I hate you for all this. So, yeah, but that's great. I understand you feel that way about me, but what we're talking about is this. Can we please come to an answer on what we want to do here about the holidays? You know, so everything, the advice that was given to me was keep everything back to the fact of something that's not emotional. You're just trying to tactically work through. That I found to be the most effective for me in dealing with these types of things. Now, additionally, in sort of like the opposite of the don't react is reacting in an argumentative way. So if you end up in a situation where you do have an instigator in your life and they're trying to manipulate you through instigation, first of all, remember that's what they're trying to do. The win for them is to get you to do something stupid so that you jam yourself up. That is their win. So know that they're trying to outsmart you and outplay you so you do something dumb so you get in trouble. You're not winning an argument. They're winning the argument by the fact that you, choose to argue. So this comes to this point. Don't argue. There's no argument that's going to be won. So you go into an argument knowing full well you're just arguing, and the only person that can lose in that argument is you. So if you are the instigator and you're starting something, chances are you have a lot at risk to lose. So don't do that. The second thing is, if you're receiving instigation from somebody else, don't argue with them, because there can be scenarios where you would lose and they don't. So arguments have no win at all if you're either the giver or receiver of instigation. I would encourage you to completely stay away from them. If an argument starts, literally walk away. Literally walk away. If it's online or through a social media, don't respond. Walk away from your computer, walk away from your phone, whatever you have to do that's going to cause you to think that way to respond, don't. Ignore the argument. Now, let's just say it gets into a situation that absolutely is something that's going to impact you because the story is getting big enough that now it's got a groundswell of support. So, the first example we talked about here was this political environment. So, you know, a political adversary could say something so serious as that, you really kind of have to address it. I mean, ignoring it is not an option because in those settings, ignoring something like that is sort of perceived like, okay, I acknowledge it, that's cool. So, what do you do? Well, I think you control the story. One advice I got one time from a gentleman that I partly owned a business with. He coached me that in a setting where you're being interviewed and press releases and everything else, is that you own your answer. You don't have to give a crap about the question. So they're asking you questions and you own the answer. So in this case, of the political adversary creating an environment that seems illogical, but it's still creating a story that could manipulate minds and have it in the back of people's head. And that's the move, is to instigate and influence voters that way, and also to get the opponent to react in a way that's going to be more damaging than just the initial story. But the one thing you can do in those environments is make sure that you control the story. So to my coaching that I had received was to say, when this allegation or this instigation comes, say, I understand, or maybe not even say I understand it. That'd be an interpersonal setting. But if it's in a public setting, just say, I prefer to think of it like this. And then change the story. Change the story. I prefer to think of it like this. And then state it as it is. State it as it is. Not as it's being manipulated or instigated, but just state it as it is. And if it's something that doesn't look that great, truth will set you free. They say it really does. It doesn't always put you in the most favorable light, but if you got something that's truthful, that's a little going to burn you anyway, you probably shouldn't have got yourself in that situation in the first place. Again, controlling your story. So if this stuff is coming at you and it is not true, control the story. If it is true, acknowledgement and diffusing it is probably, in my opinion, been the way it's worked. So for me, when I made mistakes my whole life, acknowledging it has been the best way for me to move beyond it and heal it. What I can tell you is by not acknowledging something I've done wrong, every single time it festers and builds and ultimately destroys me into making worse decisions down the road. So I've found that acknowledging those types of things is really important for my success. Guys, thanks for tuning in on this video. Instigation, it can be tremendously frustrating, especially for those of us in recovery. We just can't take it anymore. So that's why we stopped drinking, right? Or we stopped using, because we just can't take it anymore. And so we stopped, and so we're just trying to, okay, just leave me alone. I'm trying to get better. And we're doing that, and all of a sudden you got your instigators that are inherent enemies of yours, and many of them may still be using as well, that want to keep needle, pick, or play on your fears, or put you in situations that might get you in trouble because you actually did it, and they might know something that nobody else knows, and they might want to tell. All things that are instigation and manipulation. I would encourage you to accept it as it is. I talk about acceptance an awful lot in here, but it really is the root of many great things in your life and recovery, is to just accept the circumstances it is. You don't have to react to any of this stuff. If you choose to, make sure it's measured, it's not argumentative, it's telling your stories truthfully and authentically as they are, and not setting, the last thing I guess I would say is don't do a counteroffensive. Just let that story lay where it is, and if they choose to continue to instigate, stay consistent. Stay on point with what you're trying to accomplish here. And hopefully over time it goes away. And if it doesn't, you at least have been behaving in a way that is helping you grow as a person, even though these other things are going on. Thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe and comment if this video is something that you want to participate in the conversation. Very much appreciate that. My friend Preacher's Corner with his YouTube channel, just put up a second drop today, I believe it was. He's doing good things and working his motivated purpose in life, so I'm really happy for him. Thank you so much for everything you guys do for me. Please spread the word. I want to start getting my subscribers up. I haven't put a lot of energy in the channel for the better part of the year now, so I'm more focused on what I'm trying to accomplish here, and I got some ideas of things we can do better and stronger as time goes on. So I'm asking you to spread the word. Get it out there. I'm trying to get the subscriber base up, and it's free. All you got to do is just say, hey, can you check out my friend's video and subscribe. And one last thing, Jesse did not respond, so I just got burned on that whole thing, but I suspect that at some point tonight he will. But Jesse, you're supposed to respond, you didn't. Anyway, I didn't expect you. I didn't. He doesn't have to drop everything for me. Sometimes he does. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Between now and the next time we talk, I'm going to stay out of trouble, and I hope you do too.